my people, and if you're watching live, checking us out on YouTube, or listening on your favorite podcast provider, you are most definitely my people. Welcome to another episode of Botched and Chair Shots. We still have high hopes of delivering quality wrestling content, and if not, we'll sprinkle in Katie and Kyle. You know, so we still get over. I'm your host, a chef by trade and a mark by choice. I am the Will Gray, and I'm glad to be here on this journey. And tonight, that journey is anything goes, Botched Bots and Chair Shot style. Joining me tonight, she is the hardest working woman in podcasting. She is the shaman of She Elite. She is host of the She Elite Showcase, Inside the Mind of, In the Crowd, Storytime with Katie Kinsey, baby. She is a writer for Floor Stabber Sports and the co-host of the #1 wrestling podcast on Pornhub. She has more side projects than I do. She's Miss Katie Kinsey. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Did I get them all?
Yeah. You did.
Perfect. I'm apologizing ahead of time, Kyle. Your intro is not nearly as long as Katie's, but he is the host of the Rewind UWO. He is the founder and lead host of the Smack Draw Podcast Network. He is taller than I am. He is Mr. Kyle Tyson. Kai Ty, how are you?
You're damn right I'm taller, Will. All right, I don't care, you 6-foot asshole. Like,
I slid in there, just a pinch smaller than you are.
He
But,
knows how
tall.
to woo me. He knows what boosts my ego and gets me going. Will, I'm happy to be here, man.
That's why you're my boy, Kai Tai. That's why you're my boy. And joining us tonight is the man who comes with his own disclaimer, and that is the opinions of the LOC guy are him and him alone and do not reflect those of the Smack Draw Podcast Network or Botched Bots and Share Shots. Bobby Mack, how are you?
Oh, man, I am doing great. Getting ready to leave the Lone Star State and home to the true real state out there. Back to Florida I go. Palm trees, beaches, heat and breezes. I'm ready.
How long did you make it in Texas? 6 months? A year?
Eight glorious months and 2 weeks, somewhere around there. So, Florida, your boy's coming home.
Bobby, you're setting up franchises everywhere you go. Just franchises.
No, I've never actually met a franchise, but I did meet a Tiffany, a Georgia, and a Nicole while I was here.
7 minutes, 26 seconds into the show before Bobby said something inappropriate. And rounding out the panel, she is the Beyonce to my Hova. She is the Bonnie to my Clyde. She is the brains of this operation. She is the boss bitch, Miss Alison Siegel. Alison, how are you?
I'm good.
Anything new or exciting?
My computer's working, so that's good.
So we got a computer up and going. Well, the good news is this is the start of the episode. It's the same question I ask every week. It's a softball. I'm going to throw it out there. Everybody can jump in as quickly as you want. What has you pissed off for greatness this week in pro wrestling? What has you most worked up in the sport?
Those damn Rampage spoilers, man. Those get my gears grinded. I'm super angry, Will. I'm super mad. I made sure to come to the show angry about those spoilers.
Good. That's what I want, Kyle. Bring the hate.
You told me behind the scenes I'm too happy. So there you go.
Good. Bring the hate. Katie, you got anything?
I mean, not necessarily, but all this bandwagon. Yeah, that shit's annoying. I get it. They tape it, but stop. Like, some of us still want to be a little bit surprised. Please.
So I should leave out that news and rumors.
the Rampage.
Don't
spoiler.
you dare, Allison. Don't you dare.
That was actually my pissed off for greatness too, Kai, was Rampage spoilers on socials before the show airs.
That's why I threw it out there first.
Yeah, I know. And I actually told you not to. I was like, that's mine. Leave it alone.
Disrespectful.
That's the one that got me. I was like, come on, guys. Like, all we've got to do is make it, 48 hours without it being spoiled. Like, I still say at this point, just make Rampage live every week. Just do it live.
I don't care about like the fans tweeting it out. It's the so-called like news outlets. Those are the ones that really bum me out. It's like, I get it. You're a fan in attendance. You're going to want to share with everybody what you saw. But yeah, the so-called wrestling news outlets, those are the ones that upset me the most.
I mean, they should just not do big debuts on a pre-tape show.
Also
That is
true.
an argument. That is an argument.
You should.
Bobby Mack, you got one for me?
Yeah, I'm tired of hearing women complain that they're not getting enough screen time. Like this week, Ember Moon came out, and I know I see Katie already. I'm just tired of it. Like if you can draw, then you get the screen time. And I think that the proof was in the pudding this week. When you look at the ratings of Raw, main event, triple threat, the man, Becky Lynch, lowest ratings of the show when she's in a three-way with arguably two of the best women that they have in WWE currently. So, just like where that soccer lady complained a couple years ago, if you get the ratings and if you draw the crowd, if you're able to do that, then yeah, you get paid more and you get more time, but earn your spot.
Why does it matter that it's women making that complaint?
You know what? If it was a man making that complaint, I would complain that a man was making that complaint. It would be whoever is making that complaint. It shouldn't be based on sex, it's performance. And if the men are outperforming the women when it comes to the ratings, then I would put more men matches on there too, as a person that wants to promote and make the money. If it's women that outdraw, then I would put more women on there. But the truth be told, the evolution or revolution is really gone at this point, and they're going to have to find a new way to spark it back up.
Katie, do you want to go first or me?
Honey, why don't you go first?
I'm glad I remembered to hit record.
I have 2 ears, so you guys can go at the same time.
Shut up, Bobby. I hate you.
Okay, Bobby. So here's the deal. The women would get better ratings if they got better screen time and people actually, I don't know, got to see them more and get invested in their stories instead of only seeing them for 3 to 5 minutes a week. We can't get I can't talk. We can't get invested in a story that doesn't get enough time. These, freaking Roman Reigns gets 20 minutes on both shows. So he gets 40 minutes plus every week. Of course we're going to be more invested and they're going to get more ratings. These women don't get enough time to get over to get ratings.
Exactly.
Okay. So my rebuttal on that is like a year and a half, 2 years ago, Roman Reigns was getting 5 minutes on the set and Becky Lynch was getting 20 minutes. And she got herself over. She earned that spot. She earned those minutes by her character getting over so well. So what is stopping her at this point from doing it again? And why does somebody like Amber Moon, who hasn't been NXT, complaining about this stuff? Because she's now failed in 2 major companies. You could say she succeeded in WWE, but it's WWE NXT, not WWE main roster.
How can you say she's failed in AEW and Ring of Honor when she's competing for the Ring of Honor World title on Saturday night and is more than likely, if you look at the way the stories are going, everything would point towards her getting the title in Ring of Honor as the women's. And like I was saying before we went on the air, they're staring down the barrel of a new TV deal or streaming service. So they're going to put the belts on who they think are going to be the faces of Ring of Honor moving forward, which would be Athena, which would be somebody like Chris Jericho more than likely. The Briscoes and FTR going head-to-head. Alison and I were just talking about how the Briscoes are long overdue to beat FTR. All the signs point to Tony Khan putting the people in the places to start a TV deal for Ring of Honor. So I think it shows you that everything's pointing towards Athena getting this belt, that they have a lot of faith. I wouldn't say she's a bust at all in AEW or Ring of Honor.
In the gist of it, though, is Ring of Honor any bigger than NXT? It's smaller than NXT. So she's got to go back to a small pond to try to become a big fish again. So to me, her succeeding in Ring of Honor doesn't say much, because Ring of Honor was a dead promotion when he bought it. He's just relaunching it so he gets more belts and basically stopping the WWE from getting that library. So it's a pet project, and since he's adopted this pet, the ratings have been tanking in AEW. They've dropped, even with Punk being there. They were dropping when they featured 8 or ROH.
Where should she succeed, Bobby? Where is a success in your eyes?
I don't know. I think, if she went back to NXT and she got to the top of the roster, I think that, then maybe, okay, you try it again. You go to the main roster. Can you get over again? And, a lot of it's creative, but now with
is it possible to succeed outside of a WWE company? Like where outside of WWE would you classify winning over the majority of the fan base as success?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, it's easy. Like, you've got AEW, you could go to Impact and succeed.
Let me ask you a question then, and this goes out to everybody sitting on the panel right now. Do you think in pro wrestling in 2022, do you think you have to make it in WWE to have made it in pro wrestling anymore?
No, No, you can, like I said, you can be the top dog in Impact. You know, you could be the top dog on the Indies. All respect on that. You know, you make a ton of money, but the fact that she is on this national scale and she's not getting the impact, and I'm looking at impact of ratings, and I'm looking at the impact of the crowd. She's not getting crowd support as loud as what other people are, and the same thing happened to her in WWE. So I think at one point in time that she's got to look in the mirror and stop just blaming whatever promotion she's in.
I agree with Ritter in the chat that I don't think we can, and I'm going to paraphrase what he said with a little bit of me, but I think he and I agree on the same thing. It's not necessarily the women's fault. We can't blame the women for their poor booking. And that's my takeaway before I segue into the next part, because I'm going to tiptoe away from this topic, Bobby. Fuck you.
Thanks.
So I'm using that as a really shitty segue to get going. We're going to play a game on Botched Pods and Chair Shots tonight because it's anything goes, and we don't really take notes for this episode, but I have an idea. We're going to play, it's been trending on TikTok. It's Fuck, Marry, Kill. But we're going to do it with wrestlers, and we're going to push, bury, or future endeavor. So I'm going to give you guys 3 wrestlers, one at a time, and you have to decide if you want to push that person, bury that person, or wish them well on their future's endeavors and fire them. Okay? But I'm going to give you one at a time, so you don't get them all 3. You've got to figure out what you want to do based off of the name one at a time.
So wait, so your options dwindle as you name them?
Correct.
Yeah.
This is like a setup.
All right, I'm going to go with Katie. I'm going to tee off with you.
Right.
Okay? Your first person, Jay White. You going to bury Jay White, push Jay White, or are you going to fire Jay White?
See, I'm not a big Jay White guy. Barry.
AJ Styles.
I don't fire AJ. I'll push AJ. Fuck it.
That means you're going to future endeavor, Kenny Omega.
That's okay.
I choose.
That's fine.
Alison, your first person, Sonya Deville.
Push.
FTR.
Oh, come on. I'm going to future endeavor so they can go back to WWE and get away from being buried in AEW.
Okay, so your third team is the Briscoes.
Oh.
Kyle. Eric and Ivar.
Fuck.
Fine.
Wait, what was the rules again? Hold on.
Push them, bury them, or future endeavors and fire them.
Oh, man. Future endeavors.
Bryan Danielson.
I've already forgotten the other ones. Hold on.
Push or bury.
Push or bury. Let's bury him. Who am I pushing?
Miro.
Hell yeah. All right, I'll take it.
Nice. Okay. Well, now, because that was something I wanted to try. Fun times. Allison,
No
I'm going to send
Bobby?
it. Huh?
No, Bobby.
Oh, Bobby. Bobby, we got to do yours. I forgot. Yours. Your first person is the Young Bucks.
Future endeavor,
Okay. Bret Hart.
Barry.
The Great Khali.
Oh God.
Nothing like that Kali push right there. man.
the Great Khali push. And Kyle, you're right. That was absolutely a setup for Bobby. And then I forgot to do his 3. All right. Now we're going to send it up to Allison for news and rumors.
Okay, well, I'll skip my first one. Because, spoiler.
We would openly boo Allison right on air.
I can never boo her. I was just
I
a
can.
little disappointed.
I could boo Allison. I'd hug her afterwards. But
It's fine. I'll just skip. Matt Ritter will be happy about this. Matt Riddle has been written off TV for a break. Discuss.
Yes. Good. Bye.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of his. I don't get his whole thing. Like it's RVD 2.0, but just not as good.
Ritter says, "Thank fucking God."
I accidentally may have typed Ritter when I was making my list instead of Riddle. I would
not write Matt Ritter off of TV, but I absolutely would write Matt Riddle off of TV. I think he's long overdue for some time off anyways. He's been going hard since he came up from the NXT call-up anyways. So giving him some time off to maybe have a chance to revamp his character and come back and not be a complete caricature of who he was 6 years ago in the Indies. But I'm kind of indifferent. I'm with you guys. Fuck Matt Riddle.
Really quick, while we mention Ritter, I just want to give a shout out to him, man. Congrats on losing that weight. Apparently, he started focusing on his health some, and he lost a good chunk of weight doing it, man. So, big congrats, Matt.
Big congrats, Matt.
Woo! Let's talk about the
nice.
Ricky Starks MJF promo from last night.
Hell yeah.
So good.
Yeah, it was actually good. Stark showed some personality. It was a stiff hit. Like obviously MJF can talk, but Starks, I think this was his first time like really stepping up to the plate, and he hit a homer.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a classic case that he didn't have to be overly clever to really resonate with the fans. He just punctuated his thoughts like very well, and he was very passionate. But yeah, it was dope as fuck, man.
And I think that's one of the big differences between AEW and WWE is these guys do have that freedom out there, and the guys that can talk on the microphone and actually be pro wrestlers are proving that yes, they are good pro wrestlers. It's the other guys like Omega and the Bucks that are memorizing all their shit and going out there and trying to be WWE light that I'm not excited about.
Did you actually say something positive about AEW? I'm so proud of you, Bobby.
Hey, I want to be entertained when I watch TV. So I could probably watch a good episode of Glee and be entertained. Feel good about it. But the other ones, not so much.
I bet you watched Glee when it was on.
I did do season 4, episode 3 when the quarterback died. Oh man.
What?
My ex-girlfriend, dude, she loved Glee.
Mm-hmm. Your ex.
Oh, was that a spoiler? Was that a spoiler, Will? I'm sorry, you're not up to that season?
No, I haven't watched that season yet.
Okay, sorry.
What's Lee Walker always say? Spoiler free is the way to be, right? That's why
Yeah.
Alison had to cut the episode short. We're going to be short now because we couldn't talk about spoilers.
That shit's hilarious considering he used to work for Ringside News.
Bammer's in the chat. Marie says that she should have had the whole heel turn on Dynamite. Bobby talking about Athena. Knockoff RVD, great value RVD, porn parody RVD.
Look at the chat agreeing with me.
Did I say hi to Bama? Hi, Bama. Sorry.
Can I go now?
Yeah.
Are we seeing the turn of Jamie Hayter?
Turn or turn on, I think, is coming just about no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
It's time.
Yeah. I mean, this was the first time since Jamie's been champion that she got to actually talk. So, it's coming. Probably at that tag team match in January that they're having. Probably there, if not right around that time.
Mm-hmm.
That'll work good though, because it'll elevate her and Britt both like further into being face and heel. Because the crowd does not want to boo Jamie to begin with, and then it'll help Baker keep a hold of all those boos and everything, trying to steal her thunder and shit. It'll be good, man. It's really smart. It's easy too. That's easy writing. Like it's so easy to not fuck that up.
Yeah.
And I think if they build it right, they could build it to the spring pay-per-view too. With it being so close to the new year, they could really use this as a chance to go through like Winter is Coming and some of these winter shows and build what is their
Revolution.
Revolution. Yeah, thank you. I couldn't remember whichever one was around the WrestleMania point. I was like, that would be the perfect time because you could build up, and that Britt Baker story needs to be a long burn because of how big their relationship has been building up to her getting the title. So it would make sense for them to allow for a long time story building through to the spring pay-per-view, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like what did I say yesterday? I was like, I didn't even know Jamie Hayter had an accent. I was like, this is literally the first time I've ever seen her speak.
Yeah. Besides, like, the build-up between her and Tony,
Mm-hmm.
we haven't really heard Jamie talk at all. So it will be interesting to see how they do this because Jamie came back and helped Britt. Pretty sure at the Rampage I was at, like with the first episode of Rampage. So like, that's how long this has been going on. Them as a team.
Mm-hmm.
So you can definitely build off that. They have months of material to use if they do it right.
Definitely. According to Uncle Dave, Drew McIntyre is dealing with a legitimate injury, but we don't know what.
I mean,
So,
makes sense because he did tweet because he was supposed to be at SmackDown tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
but he did tweet like he's literally not allowed to perform. So it could have been something in War Games that happened. That'd be my guess.
Probably.
and is McIntyre really going to be that greatly missed?
I feel like going into Rumble, it's supposed to be a build up to Kevin Owens. If what I heard was right, because it was going to be Sheamus, and they pulled the plug on Sheamus and passed the ball to Owens because they're going to build to Owens Reigns at the Rumble. I don't see McIntyre being directly involved. He's not in the U.S. title picture. He's not in the IC title picture. So I don't see him. And if this is the time where he is hurt, this is the perfect time for him to need some time off. You never want somebody to be injured. But if he's not in any major stories right now, so this is a good time for him to take some time off if need be.
Plus, it'll give people time to miss him.
Mm-hmm.
That'll do him some good, anyways.
Agreed. It's like after he left the first time.
Yeah, and I think he's one of those guys. When you talk about success outside of WWE, he was really successful in Impact. Like he really made his move, and he came back and he was strong coming back into WWE. But now I think now that he's been in WWE, I think he's lost that luster. Like he's losing it again, almost to where maybe he does need to. This injury probably came at the right time. He needs to go away for a little bit, come back, and be recharged, and get the fans recharged behind him.
Yeah, I mean, if you were gonna do anything with him, it would have been at Clash at the Castle. Like, there's just at that point, the hype was at the only place it was gonna go was down if the title wasn't going on him.
Do you guys think now that we're through the pandemic and Drew carried the belt so much through the Thunderdome days and all of that nonsense, do you think that he deserves a title push in front of the crowd now? Since he never got it then, do you think he's still a big enough star to wear the world title again at some point? Not necessarily being the person to take it off of Roman necessarily, but do you think Drew is big enough to wear the belt again?
I think he could, but I think he's no different than a Dolph Ziggler or a Sheamus with the belt. Look at Bayley. Like Bayley was huge during that era too, but now she's not as big as what she was. And, that was all contrived fandom. Like Vince controlled the cheers of the crowd and everything else when those two were supposedly quote unquote over. And I think now that they're in front of real audiences, you can see they're not truly as over as what we were led to believe.
I can agree with that.
Yeah.
Really? I'm not trying to agree. Hello.
No, I completely disagree. I think Bayley was one of the best things and most entertaining things in the pandemic era. And it wasn't because they were piping cheers or boos in. It was because it was like one of the only highlights when I turned on that godforsaken show with no fans in there. It was her, it was Asuka, it was Drew. They all carried it, especially Drew and Sheamus too.
I would
But,
I would 1,000% agree that Drew and Sheamus carried it through the pandemic era.
Yeah, their matches alone were probably the best matches in the no crowd era. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, it just depends like where you're getting this from. Like if you ask the people that watched, if it wasn't for your cup of tea, it wasn't for you. But like definitely Bailey was a huge highlight that whole time. I don't put where she's at right now on like her ability to get over. It's poor booking. For some reason they made her come back to all this fanfare. I was at SummerSlam. We all were. And the crowd lost their shit to Bailey being there.
It was awesome. She got a huge
yeah,
pop.
But then booking her to lose like consistently afterwards is just fucking weird, man.
I thought Bailey for a long time was in a Seth Rollins style position where she could take a couple L's in a row and still be a strong contender. But I don't think the crowd has seen it that way. I feel like now that she's taken back-to-back losses in major matches, a lot of the air has been taken out of the parachute of Damage Control. Like, I don't feel like they've got as much backing as they thought they would at this point, less than a year after their debut.
It's like any other rivalry. If you see two people clash and one person loses, you know, they can only say like, I'll get you next time, before like the fans stop caring. Bailey has now gone up and lost along with Damage Control to Bianca Belair multiple times. You know, it's going to be hard to get invested in her going after the champ until it's a different champ. You know what I mean? So that doesn't really come down to Bailey's ability to get over. It's just the booking has made her hit a brick wall. And now the idea of her feuding for that title still is now stale because we just had an entire season of it. There's no reason to keep running it.
Right. But I totally agree with Bammer, though, in the chat. Like, you don't have to go over to get over. And I think that's where Bailey's like dropped it. Like, I totally agree with you that during that, you know, whole COVID era, yeah, Bailey was entertaining. But what happened when she got back in front of the crowd? I don't know if it was just losing. Maybe they thought she was strong enough to continuously lose and not lose her luster, and they were wrong.
Bobby, were you not paying attention? Because I literally just said that.
I was just reiterating your thoughts.
Literally, almost verbatim.
This was going to be
I didn't have
my
that
pissed off for greatness, but I got skipped for that.
Wow.
What do you mean?
You didn't ask me my pissed off for greatness.
Wow.
What's your pissed off for greatness?
Was going to be that I thought that this thing with Bailey and Damage Control continuously losing is getting stale. Like, I'm tired of this story now.
That's what Ritter also chimed in and said, if you want to make Damage Control mean something, they can't lose every major match. And that was what I was saying as well, is the fact that I feel like them giving Bailey consecutive major losses does nothing but take away from them as if you're going to be a dominant heel faction, you have to win. You know what I mean? The Four Horsemen didn't become the most, feared faction in the territories by losing every War Games. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't get over by, like, losing the title. You know
They
what I
didn't
mean?
War Games.
What?
The Horsemen, I don't think I've ever won a War Games.
Okay, Bobby, it was a bad example, but you get what I'm saying. I've got one. Bama started it in the chat, and so I wanted to hop on it. Sasha Banks is rumored to be at Wrestle Kingdom 17 in January in some capacity. PW Insider is reporting that she'll be there in the building. They haven't confirmed if she'll be in the crowd or if she'll actually have something to do with the card, but she will be there. Do we have any kind of hype this early on for the possibility of Sasha turning up in New Japan?
Are you fucking kidding me? That would be so sick to see. Now, granted, she hasn't been in WWE all year, but just her name is synonymous with WWE. That crossover is always going to carry appeal, in my opinion.
Are they allowed to cheer there yet?
No,
They
it's going to be a
will
clap
be-
crowd at Wrestle Kingdom this year again.
Yeah, they lift it after Wrestle Kingdom.
Okay.
That's dumb.
Dude, it's so fucking stupid.
Katie, this is another free shout out to your show. You and I were going back and forth about this with her going to New Japan and Stardom. Going back to wrestling doesn't necessarily mean she has to go back to WWE, because she could get the Disney money and wrestle for Stardom in New Japan, or possibly even AAA or AEW. So she can get Disney money and wrestle, or just get WWE money. And I said for a while that I thought it was going to be WWE or bust, because they were the only ones that could fill her pocketbook. But I might be wrong about that, with Disney being able to pay her to act, and then her doing a part-time schedule with New Japan and Stardom. I think that makes complete sense, and I think she would be a huge freaking star going up against Kairi Sane, because she's already talked smack to her on Twitter too.
I mean, Disney money is Disney money. Like, that's buckets of change you're getting doing anything Disney.
Mm-hmm. Working for the mouse is big.
It's, of course, but I don't know. I brought it up on my show. You can like, Carl Anderson is the never openweight champion in WWE right now, so it is possible for her to maybe do both if she wanted to. I'm not saying like she has to do one or the other, or she has to do both, but I feel like that could be a possibility.
Oh, I'm totally dumb to Japan wrestling. What is never open? Like, I hear it all the time. What is never open? Is that?
No, I have no fucking idea. I don't watch New Japan.
The never open
I'm just assuming there's no weight class.
That's
the never open weight championship is for literally any weight class to compete for that title, because they have the light heavyweight title. They have their heavyweight title, or their world's title. The never open weight title is a championship that could be competed for by any weight class.
So it'd be like a Giant facing Rey Mysterio?
Yeah, sort of. It could be theoretically. Most of the time, think of it more of like an X division. You know what I mean? From Impact. It's going to be the upper level mid card guys that haven't got world title pushes yet as singles competitors. That's a good way to look at it. It's a lot like Impact's X Division. Marie's in the chat. She'll probably chime in and correct me on that, but that's the way I would view it. That's also on my list, guys, is Carl Anderson is still flaunting the never openweight title on socials. Do we ever get the WWE New Japan crossover Forbidden Door bullshit?
Didn't they sign that?
He is defending it next month, isn't he? Or this month?
Yeah, the 15th, I think. Something like that. Like, it's coming up.
Yeah, and you guarantee he's not going to go alone. Like, because this has all the classic setup of old school pro wrestling. Like, WWE's going to send some guys with him just in case shit goes down.
Yeah.
I think if Sasha Banks does, assuming that she's still technically contracted to WWE, because on the Rewind we were just talking about the SmackDown Women's division. And so me and RN, we were on their roster page, and Sasha Banks is still listed as a SmackDown superstar. And so I believe if she does appear on New Japan's Wrestle Kingdom, their largest show of the year, under WWE contract, they ain't going to do that for free. They're going to want a Jay White. They're going to want a big name to come and do something. I don't know about a whole Forbidden Door pay-per-view, given that it really wasn't the best in AEW. But having somebody show up for a quick feud or a one-off match,
or a Royal
I think
Rumble
is in the
appearance.
horizon. Or a Royal, most likely a Royal Rumble appearance.
Yeah.
We'll definitely get that.
But isn't there a worry, though, like with the Royal Rumble, like if you put a bunch of New Japan or, you put 5 or 6 of them in there, like what the American crowd reaction is going to be, like that non-smart fan. And I agree. Like, I'm one of the fans. I wouldn't recognize these guys.
Wouldn't you think that a Royal Rumble live crowd would be one of the smarkiest crowds, just like the WrestleMania and Raw after WrestleMania? I would think Royal Rumble would also have the I'm going to use the term lightly, but the smarter wrestling fans.
I can agree with that. Now that they've gone to stadiums and they are producing it in that bigger aspect, yes. So maybe my brain's 5 years ago.
Maybe the average person tuning into the Royal Rumble might be a little bit more left out. Like, The person that just turns on SmackDown every week because it's on Fox. Maybe that person ain't gonna know, but
No,
I think the live crowd will react.
I agree with that. Like I'm just hoping we don't get that 1994 Royal Rumble where you have all these luchadors coming out, including Mil Mascaras, and everybody's like, "Who? What?"
Yeah. Well, that's why you have Marie.
It's true. That's
Marie runs wrestling Twitter, man. She will make sure everybody knows.
She's taught me a lot.
Apparently, the stream dropped and then came back on too.
It did.
I'm gonna knock one off of my list. At Keith of the Ring on Twitter says Miro is healthy and ready to work, but they have no creative for him. How are you guys feeling about Miro in AEW?
His first appearance, he was wearing a Disney princess sweatshirt after coming off a monster heel push in the biggest company in the world.
I'm hanging on to hope, Will.
I hope they can get Miro back over, but I really think they probably need to hire Lana and figure out a way to do that gimmick and mirror that gimmick that he was so successful at, because, you know, until Cena buried him, he was on top of the world.
Bro, he rolled out in a tank. You rolled out in a tank at WrestleMania. How was that guy never a world champion?
I agree with that.
Dude, how in the world was he not a world champ?
Do you think he was a bust in a WWE, Kai, for that very fact right there that he never won the world title while he was there?
Not of his own doing. He wasn't a bust of his own doing. That dude fell victim to the classic trope of you don't get over unless the people at like the powers that be want you over.
Yeah, at that point, Cena wasn't gonna let anybody get over him. And what was the whole Rusev Day? Like, how do you get that over? Like, he got it over.
It was over.
I was going to say it was over.
And Miro was also over in AEW, and then he got hurt. Like, his Redeemer shit was over.
And
fucking fire too.
We were calling the All Atlantic title the Miro belt because we thought it was that easy. Me, Kai, RN, everybody just thought he was going to walk through that tournament. It seemed as planned as Cody Rhodes walked to the original TNT title. Like, that's how clear and definitive it looked like it was going to be the Miro belt, and then they put it on Pac instead. Or Pac, not Pac. Tupac. I'm sorry, Mama. That's Eminem. Fuck, I'm messing up.
That's Eminem.
Jesus
Will.
Christ, dude.
Buddy. Yeah, all right.
Allison, you got one on your list before I bury my own show?
Yes.
Can we play that game again? Very future endeavor.
Matt, get ready. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. AEW Fight Forever is about to be released. Supposedly 50 playable characters. Does anyone care at all?
Yes. And I'll explain why.
Okay.
Not even as an AEW fan. It's made by the same people that made Def Jam Fight for New York. And that is one of the all-time greatest fucking fighting games / wrestling games. It's a wrestling game.
Shout out to
ever
our past
released.
episode, too. You put that on your list in the favorite wrestling video games episode.
Dude, yes, I am not
did.
kidding. It holds up today. That game is pushing 20 years old, and it still holds up today. Def Jam Fight for New York, if it has the same people behind that shit, mechanically, it might look like dog shit. But mechanically, that game will be fucking butter, dude. I'm holding out hope just by that. I give a fuck. It's an AEW game. I just heard it has people who are attached to Def Jam for Fight for New York, and I'm beyond hype just on that alone.
It also is getting released. Chiming in, Marie says she wants it to be on the Game Pass. It is actually going straight to the Game Pass when it releases. So it'll be, if you subscribe, it's like Netflix for video games for the people listening who don't know what Game Pass is. It'll go straight to Game Pass for people that subscribe to that. So you'll be able to download it the night before and play it day of if you have Game Pass. I'm hyped. It apparently sounds like, to me, like some of the old school Nintendo 64 style wrestling games where they're not these button masher fighters like they have now. Like 2K for me is too busy with the controls. And apparently this is going to simplify the controls and make it feel more like an arcade style wrestling game again, which is going to be amazing if they can pull it off right.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to being CM Punk and kicking the Bucks ass, and being FTR and kicking the Bucks ass, and being all these other guys and just kicking the Bucks ass.
Okay, Marie says it's not going to be on Game Pass, and I'm putting wrong info out there.
No, Will, they did announce it originally on Game Pass.
That's what I thought.
I don't know.
Telling me
I don't
I'm
know what's
announcing wrong
changed.
information.
Yeah, no, it was originally announced to be day one on Game Pass.
That's what I read too. Like as of just a couple days ago.
I'm sticking with Marie.
Bobby, you can.
Marie, do you need a co-host?
Not you.
I will trade you for Ravage straight up. Put it on the books. Top Rope Wrestling says, how the fuck are they going to book the Briscoes a few days before the pay-per-view without using the Briscoes on TV? They're doing the double dog collar match at the Ring of Honor pay-per-view. Do you guys think it's screwy that TK booked the Briscoes on TV even though they're not allowed on AEW TV right now?
Well, you're kind of stuck. If they're gonna wrestle, you gotta promote them somehow. What better way than to have the Ass Boys announce a fucking Briscoes match, right?
It was something.
It definitely was, man. Dude, I thought it was hilarious because all I could think about was I think it was the Briscoes just rebutted like the PWI top tag teams or whatever, and they're like if they weren't banned from TV, they'd be much higher up. And then like a couple days later, you have the Ass Boys announcing them for a match because they're banned from TV.
What were they banned for? I forget.
I think one of them made like homophobic comments like fucking 15, 20 years ago online.
Gotcha.
Allison, wasn't that something to do with your pissed off for greatness too? I'm sorry, Kyle. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's cool, man.
It was.
That's a good point for you to chime into the conversation with the Briscoe thing.
So one of the things I was maybe going to do for my pissed off for greatness was that we cancel people for comments that were said, 15, 20 years ago that they've apologized for, learned from, grown as people, moved on. But we don't cancel people for things that they should be canceled, like what we talked about last week, like Carlos Colon still being in the AEW Hall of Fame, not AEW, WWE Hall of Fame, and, the obviously problematic issues with Imperium and everything like that. Like, there's all these other things that get ignored because they're part of gimmicks or whatever, but we're going to cancel people for a comment that was made, but we've grown and learned from it.
Society's changed. Like even, and I don't usually agree with her political views or any of her views, but Whoopi Goldberg, from what I understand, went and defended Blazing Saddles. And, if you've ever seen that movie, it's overly racial. Like if there's a stereotype out there, it went after it. And Whoopi Goldberg, being a strong Black woman, defended everything that it was, that it said. Because again, that was another time in society. So, the Briscoes said something, I don't even know what it is. But I've watched, and I have to be careful because I do post on TikTok, Yellow Shoe Guy on TikTok, all the time of old videos and interviews. And there was one with Terry Funk that I had to not post because of the way he was talking about Junkyard Dog. So, you do have to be careful, but again, different ways of society, that back then was getting heat. Like there's some Adrian Adonis videos that I've seen with Roddy Piper that there's no way I could post on TikTok or I'd get banned. So I just think you have to take it and you have to filter it out. And, we rush so much to just erase somebody from history or erase things. Like it just, again, do we need to celebrate Columbus? No, but you know what? For anybody that's over 35, we probably all thought he was a hero and not realizing the things that were quote unquote bad at this point. So I don't know. I think it's a touchy topic. And imagine that I'm touching it.
I started it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, fine. Take the credit. It's all Allison's fault. Email to Allison@botchspotsandchairshots.com.
That's not actually a thing, is it?
Mm-mm.
No, I didn't think I had an email. I was like, do we have emails?
I think you should probably be checking those if you do.
I was like, fuck, is there an email I didn't know
I've been
about?
checking them. We have a lot of hate mail.
I'm sure you do.
I was gonna say, I wonder who it's geared towards. It's crazy.
Miss Eagle, you got another one on your list?
Yeah. This isn't a spoiler, per se. Because it's not about anything, like, live. Some highly touted independent wrestlers reportedly took part in a tryout at the Performance Center. Kylie Ray and Casey Navarro and Mike Johnson. No, that's wrong. Mike Johnson reported it. Sorry. Kaylee Ray and Casey Navarro.
Who?
Kaylee Ray would be great. She was super over in NWA. She's reminds me a lot of Smiley.
Hugger Bailey. Yeah.
Hugger Bailey. Yeah, that's the perfect analogy for it. Thank you, Katie. That's the first thing that comes to mind when I see her.
Oh, 100%. That's even when Bailey was doing the hugger gimmick and Kylie was on the indies, that she got compared to Bailey all the time with that gimmick. And it could work. It would work in WWE, I think.
As a
but,
sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, in this is just a question, not like I don't actually have a dog in this race. This is just a general question. As a business, would you risk hiring Kaylee Ray? Because she's walked out on 2 contracts now, citing mental health issues. And so would you take that knowing that this person had signed ink on the paper, 2 contracts, and then walked out on 2 of them, regardless of issues? You know what I mean? But would you want to take that risk?
I would. I mean, because things happen.
Mm-hmm.
You go into it. Yeah, you have the mindset of, all right, I'm gonna do this. This is gonna be great. I'm gonna have a great time. Things happen, and then you're like, oh, I can't do this anymore. And I've been saying it from the jump. Mental health is way more important than physical health, so that really shouldn't matter. Even if you do sign a contract, the people you're working for should realistically understand that things happen, and that definitely takes a toll. So,
but playing devil's advocate, if they were to put the machine behind you, put you on TV, and say, hey, we're going to push you to be one of our main characters on TV, so we're going to draw money off of you, you know, it's nice and all to understand and everything, but you also have to be dependable. That's why, you know, like sports, they don't want people who are injury prone. You can be one of the most athletic people in the world, but if you're prone to be injured, you're looked at as unreliable, and you could become a detriment to the bottom line, the money side of all of this. Not saying like, do we take her feelings into account? You know, we just talked about how important mental health is, but that's just one of those things, is like, does it give you the air of unreliable?
I counter argue you. Jeff Hardy in WWE had how many chances? The Usos have had how many chances in WWE, and are now the longest reigning tag team champions. Obviously, different reasons. Theirs are more substance abuse related issues as opposed to mental health, and they have been, like, Jeff was fired at one point, like, people, they've been like fired, and it's basically the same thing at that point. Like, you get released or you release yourself, but they still have had multiple chances in multiple companies. Well, Jeff has, not the Usos.
I agree with
Marie
you.
also brings up a good point that WWE has their wellness policy, which includes mental health stuff and everything like that. If she were to utilize those programs, then that would be an outlet for her there. Kyle, I do agree with, I don't, like, it's kind of a double-edged sword. I see what you're saying, and it's a calculated risk to bring somebody in with that kind of
I was
a
just
history.
playing devil's advocate.
No.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I just wanted to pose a good question.
But I see your point, but also looking at it from the perspective of BC says in the chat, which was another one of my points, she was dealing with alcoholism and seems to be clean now. She has been very vocal with her road through recovery on social media and stuff. So I think, unlike a Jeff Hardy, for instance, who's constantly relapsed over and over and over again and hasn't shown that he's ready to get help, Kylie has made the ever important step of going, I know I need help, and has started to do that for her, which I think puts her on a different level than some of these other guys who have constantly, and if she relapses and goes back, then she'll get put back over. But since she's cleaned up, it seems to me like she straightened up a lot of that personal stuff and some of her personal demons that we're going through. So I get both sides, Kai, is what I'm saying. Like, I understand the calculated risk, but also somebody who's done what they can to make their life better.
Okay.
To defend Jeff Hardy, though, Jeff Hardy's been to rehab multiple times, like not just for the business, but also for his family. And he's gone back and relapsed. You said earlier that you watched the documentary on Teddy Hart. Teddy Hart seemed to be pretty clean in ROH, and all of a sudden he goes up to the top of the cage and decides to do somersaults off of it like 4 or 5 times in the middle of a match. Like he has a mental issue like with that.
We all remember Perk Angle.
Yeah, well, what about
Jesus Christ, dude?
Was the guy in WWE not too long ago, like within like a year or so ago, that they were pushing to the moon, and when he got to the main roster, real big guy, bald head, I believe, and he was on there one time and that was it. And like he had vignettes and everything else. Like, as a company, I don't think you can invest that kind of money in somebody. Like, maybe if you bring them in, bring this person in, you put her in NXT, the smaller crowd where you don't have all the money invested, and see if she can handle it before you launch her on the main roster.
Put her through a grind.
Yeah.
Kind of test the waters.
Yeah, because that's, again, I can't remember the dude's name from WWE, but I know he was big in NXT, and then I think he was supposed to premiere on SmackDown, and he just fizzled.
You're not talking about Karrion Kross, are you?
No, it wasn't Cross.
Because he was bald before he came back this last time and fizzled on the main roster after like 2 shows. But
that wasn't a mental health thing. It was the guy. I forget what the guy's name was, but they legitimately he had I guess he had a fear of crowds. An NXT crowd was
Lars Sullivan. I know
it.
who you're talking about. Yeah, yep. Lars. Yeah.
Yep,
there was a lot.
That guy
more
was
stuff.
He was doomed from the start, man.
He also had some questionable stuff outside of WWE going on as well.
Bingo.
And leave it to Bobby to be the one to bring him up on the show.
He
also has took the worst black mass ever recorded because it missed him by like 4 feet.
KY's got some blue handle thing that he keeps rubbing his
back
beard.
scratcher, boss.
It's his back scratcher, dude.
Okay.
Kai's a lot like me. Kai's got to tick and play with something while he's doing the show or he'll go crazy. Like I flick with my pins and doodle and like all of that. Kai's got to have stuff too. I get it.
We'll cross the line with me shaving my head.
When he pulled the electric
too
razor
distracting.
out that night on the stream, I was like, okay, Kai, this crosses the line. I love you. Not quite as bad as standing streamer peeing in a bottle during, but like.
Oh my God, poor Vince.
Alison, you got another one on your list?
I do. The current worst kept secret in wrestling is that William Regal will soon be headed back to WWE.
Whoa. Easy? That's crazy. I never would have guessed.
The worst kept secret in pro wrestling.
Talk about it on AEW.
I was gonna say, dude, kudos to AEW for tying that up really nice and making it make sense. I thought what they did on Wednesday was a fantastic, actually, way to play that angle. And damn near was actually kind of emotional, man, listening to Regal. Doesn't sound like he's just like leaving them high and dry. Like he feels like they, story-wise, tied up all loose ends for him.
Literally sounded like he was reading his last will and testament. I was getting real scared. I was like, is Regal actually just dying and we just didn't know? Or is he just leaving companies?
I love that he angled it like if you're listening to this, that means something very bad has happened to me.
Literally.
He's gonna look at the screen at the end of it and say, I love you 3000, and then he just disappears like a hologram.
He just fucking Thanos snapped out, dude. Oh, they should have done it. You got the money for it, bro.
AEW definitely has the money for it.
Oh, dude, he could have been Thanos snapped. Oh, it would have been beautiful.
It was great that he did the job. Leaving the territory. Like, that was great. I cannot wait to hear Regal talk about this when he's able to talk about it, because the backstage stories, I think EC3 was saying it this week, was Regal's backstage is basically the same thing that CM Punk was saying, that the place is run by immature people. They don't want to listen. They don't want to listen to veterans. And it's just not going to be a growing, prosperous place for somebody like Regal or any other veteran that's back there.
Well, it might not do what Regal wanted, Regal at this point in his career might just be wanting to be like more like a coach, and that might be more fulfilling to him than being saying like an on-screen character. And so yeah, he very well may have just been not fulfilled with the role that they had for him there.
Yeah, and that's what he was saying is he was trying to give guys advice like Paige and the Buckies and all them other guys, and they were just like, no, we don't need your advice. We're 20-year pros, even though we're only 30 years old, and we've been doing this forever. We don't.
But I think the way that you're phrasing it is like it's a little off. What I'm saying is like his official role, like, if they had a class, like he's probably, wanting to go there and wanting to hold these seminars, and the seminars are optional. So I don't think it's a matter of like, hey, everybody show up in class and get disrespected. It's just he was probably holding seminars and just not the most people were showing up. Everybody's kind of still doing their own thing, and whereas NXT, we know they had like literally like classrooms, like everybody go sit down and listen to this. Essentially, it's like a fucking college class.
Right.
And,
I can see that to a point, but and being in a locker room, if I'm sitting, near Ricky Morton or, Barbarian or any of those guys from the 80s, that have been around, if they say, hey kid, this is the way you should do this or that or the other thing, I'm all ears.
But
like,
it wasn't that setting. The setting was that he was in the ring and people had the option to come to him. They could come to the wrestling ring and sit in on these optional seminars. Not that he sat down next to you and tried to give you advice and you decided to put your AirPods in and blow him off. It was just that like, hey, here's an open class that everyone can come to. And it just wasn't a big thing there like NXT has facilitated.
Right. I totally agree. But if I saw somebody from Disney that wanted to give me guest service pointers or how to run a theme park, then if I'm in my business and I want to be successful and learn, then I'm going to go talk to them and take them up on it.
Just a shameless plug. My second most recent interview, Duke the Dumpster. He talked about when he was training in the early 90s compared to 2022, it's very disjointed. He says the training now at the Performance Center and coming up through some of these developmentals and some of the higher end indies, he said they're going as far as even teaching you how to handle your finances and stuff now. So I think right now the education side of learning in wrestling is at the peak. Mm-hmm. Like the training processes in the schools, not necessarily saying that every school is a great training school. There are schools that are premier schools that are putting out premier talent. Not every mud show is a good training school. But Duke the Dumpster said that the training now is more fine-tuned and it's elevated compared to what it was in the early 90s, late 80s at the end of the territory days.
Yeah, I think that's something that Cornette's talked about in OVW is he would teach the guys how to balance, his checkbook as well as balance on the top rope. And, I went to one school one time and I came in and Les Thatcher was there from Smoky Mountain and he was like talking about seminar and, he's telling me stuff. And I'm like, well, Tony Gibbons, this promoter that I work for, likes for me to do this, this, and this. He's like, okay, well, how many times has Tony Gibbons been on national TV? How many times has he sold out, these arenas in this area? And they basically just told me that, you want to listen to a guy that's been a national, superstar or a national presence, or you want to listen to this promoter who's really big in Kingsport, Tennessee, and nowhere else. So I listen to Les.
One of the big advice that I've always heard from the guys say is, if you want to learn in the wrestling business, learn from somebody who's better than you are. You know what I mean? Learn from somebody who's been more successful than you have been, who's paid their bills with wrestling, so to speak, when you're coming up. Like, that's the big one. Like, did you learn from somebody who was a weekend warrior, or did you learn from somebody who was in the business for 25 years and, had more than a cup of coffee at a mid-level independent promotion?
Yeah, I think that's true in life in whatever business you're in. Even the restaurant business, you're always going to find somebody who can cook more than, cook better than you or make a better drink than you.
Except for me.
Listen, I taught you all that. You're welcome.
Look, I swear, there's one person on the planet who can cook Southern food better than I can. My grandmother.
Dude, it's not hard. You roll shit in batter and drop it in a deep fryer. Southern cooking is fucking easy, okay?
I love you, Kai Tai. I love
I
you.
was going to ask if his name was Waltrip.
No, not fuck you, Waltrip. The secret to good barbecue sauce is burning your onions. No, you fucking idiot, it's not.
It's from Publix, are better than biscuits made from scratch.
Oh my god. I hate you for bringing up Pillsbury Donuts. I've got one coming off from Wrestling with the Truth, Mr. Jay Myers. Can you explain this AEW booking to me? So Ricky Starks already has a title match. He is then entered in and wins the Dynamite Diamond Ring Battle Royal, which is also for a guaranteed title match. Now the match next week is for both the title and the ring, so in essence, the Battle Royal is moot in both results. He loses then, he has no more title shots. If he wins, he doesn't need the title shot and the opportunity is gone for a year now? That was a lot, but ultimately questionable booking from AEW, and do we think him using the Dynamite Diamond Ring immediately was a poor booking choice?
I don't think that gimmick works with anybody but MJF. Like, I think that ring was made for him, and now that it's going against him, I don't know, it's kind of odd, especially if he uses the knucks against the ring. Like, where do they like hit each other and like hands like shake?
Sparks fly.
It'd be like
Yeah.
Iron Man when he hits the shield in Captain America Civil War. That's what'll happen.
Does MJF have the Nux now, or because Regal's leaving, does Regal keep the Nux and go back to WWE?
I just Googled it, and apparently Nux are not only owned by William Regal.
But I mean, it's inherently his gimmick.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
100%
you know what I
his
mean?
gimmick, yeah.
Yeah, because I wonder if it was. This is really out there. It's probably dumb as shit. So you can tune me out if you want. But I wonder if it's the Nux were going to be handed down to MJF. However, since Regal's leaving, MJF isn't going to keep the Nux, and now they don't want to take the Dynamite Diamond Ring off of him because that's what Bobby just said, his gimmick. And so this way, you can help because Starks ain't winning the belt. You can now keep the ring on MJF and, of course, the belt at the same time. Just knock it all out. I wonder if Regal going back or leaving AEW has something to do with the booking of the ring itself.
I think it's one of those. I think with AEW and the way like they've handled the Punk situation, I think them having MJF with the brass knucks is kind of like a FU Regal type of thing until Regal like reintroduced the knucks on WWE, which he's probably not going to do because he's not going to be an on-screen character. So I think like they might think that that's like oh look, he's got your brass knucks, he's got your brass knucks. So I think that's the only reason why that they would have MJF continue with the knucks. But I think that I totally agree. There's no way Starks is winning. This is Bob Holly versus Lesnar at Royal Rumble all those years ago. This is a filler until they get a new feud. But yeah, I think he needs the ring. I think the ring is part of his character as much as the scarf is.
It is synonymous with him. And it'd also be a big deal the one time that he does lose it. Like whenever he does lose it, it'll be a big deal.
If he does, it's not going to be Reiki. I don't think.
Katie, what do you think about it?
I mean, you and I were kind of going back and forth on my show. This is just chapter 1 of many a chapters between everyone's favorite rat bastard, Maxwell Jacob Friedman, and the Pebble, Ricky Starks. This is literally just the beginning. Yeah, Ricky's gonna lose. Do I think it? I mean, it kind of makes sense because you have that. It's a big match for Winter is Coming that they've been promoting for months now, so that makes sense. But I mean, after this, it's like Ricky kind of goes away. Max has a bunch of people he has name dropped recently of who he could face. So, I mean, it's not the best, but it makes sense for them. Like this, it gets rid of the diamond ring shit for a year. We don't have to worry about it. I mean, we already all kind of knew Ricky was probably gonna win that since he already was gonna face Max. Like it was kind of just like written ahead of time. Like once Ricky said he was in the battle royal, that was gonna happen. He was gonna win. He was already facing Max. They just decided to put it all in one. It's not the best, but it makes sense.
You got another one, Allison, or you want me to go?
I can go. Punk has given fans a blast from the past by sharing an image from his WWE days amid rumors of possible return.
I saw that picture. That is him just trolling fans.
Yeah.
That's all that is. Like that is just I'm bored. Let's put a picture of me in WWE and just watch everybody talk about this.
Yeah, he's keeping his name in the press. Like, would it be huge? Yes. But Punk is one of those guys. He's professional, but he does take things personal, and I cannot see him ever working for Triple H and Stephanie McMahon again.
Should have Festus in the background. I saw that shit. And fucking Festus in the back on the Titantron.
That Festus breakup with AJ.
Allison, are you aware of Festus? Do you know of Festus?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's seen the Addams Family.
Yeah.
No, like WWE Festus.
Oh, no. I have no idea.
Yeah. Google is Luke Gallows' character in WWE. He plays he plays a special lad. And what's hilarious is he plays this ridiculous character, and then years later he's back in the company, and he quoted saying something along the lines, he's like, I hope Vince doesn't find out that I was actually Festus.
I'm looking it up. Oh my.
Yeah. What was it? Every time the bell rang is when he like woke up and
Oh, did he like go nuts or something? Yeah.
Yep.
Biscuits and gravy. Yeah, that's right.
Marie in the chat says, does AEW even need the ring? The ring started with Cody and Cody wanting a sense of it to be like football. Going backwards a step. But do y'all think they could get rid of that and move on to something else in its place?
yeah, I think it's lame. Like you're gonna knock somebody out with a ring.
I think it's just part of like MJF. Like I think the moment MJF is relieved of it, like I could see a character who's like above it, like almost like a Nikki Cross. Like I don't know, let's say Moxley wins it, but he's definitely not about like all that jewelry. So like next week he just pawns the shit or something, and then boom, it's written off TV and we don't hear about it anymore.
I could see the ring relaunching Wardlow into the main event status against MJF.
That wouldn't be a bad call.
Yeah, he used to carry it around for MJF. So yeah, I could see that's like the only person I could think of.
Yeah,
That could be part of their gimmick.
Unless Miro comes back wearing his Disney princess shirt and he gets a ring.
Yeah.
Give him a little tiara too.
You realize no one has talked about that shirt for like years, right? Like he came out like that was just his debut, man. Like he's had a reinvention since then.
Yeah, but Bobby,
First impressions.
Let me ask you guys a question. Dustin Rhodes said that he's going to put his boots in the ring. 2023 is going to be his last year. If he doesn't get a title push in a Ring of Honor, an NWA, something like that, do you think Dustin Rhodes moves to the top of the list as one of the greatest workers to never win the big one?
No, and I was hoping you brought this up. Like I've actually got his Wikipedia. It's been up for like 2 hours now. Dude, he's good. He's Dusty's kid. He's good. He's not Kurt Hennig. He's not Roddy Piper. Although he's feuded with both. Dustin was always a good worker. Before Goldust, after Goldust, he's had a tough time getting over. I will say his matches with Cody were phenomenal in AEW. But Dustin is that middle of the road guy. Like I don't see Dustin as a world champion. Much like I don't really see Cody as a world champion, although I'm starting to change my opinion on Cody, Dustin maybe came too soon, and there was too much personal baggage.
What's he
so, yeah,
missing?
so-
What's he missing, according to you?
To me, Dustin Rhodes is missing everything: the interview, the presence. Goldust, the original presence of Goldust was, very like, in your face, and it was controversial. It was a character that was really good. And I don't know if Dustin's the only guy that could have ever played it off. Like, The Undertaker is the only guy I could ever see. Mark Calloway is the only guy that could ever play The Undertaker.
But I mean, what I'm saying is, like, what's he missing? Like, what's his career missing? Like, is it in-ring talent? Is it his ability to cut a promo? According to you, like, where is he lacking in skill?
I think
where he hasn't, like, do you think it's just the fact that he's Dustin Rhodes' boy is why he's been on television for 30 years? Do you think narcissism has run for 3 decades?
I don't think that,
or not narcissism.
Nepotism.
I'm sorry. That was the wrong word. Yeah, my apologies.
Okay,
But
I forgive you.
yeah. But anyways, do you think it's just the name alone that's carried him for 3 decades on being a prominent fixture on 3 different major companies?
No, but I think what it is like his dad would say, if you can't fill every 16 inches, then you shouldn't be champ. And I think that's where Dustin's at. I think Dustin really
The question was, though, if he doesn't win, will he go down as one of the best to never hold the big one? Not that will he be a world champ. Will he go down as one of the greatest wrestlers to never hold the world title?
No, because I would classify him in the same like thing as Davey Boy Smith, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I'd put him in that league, which I think is just below the Kurt Hennig league, just below the Roddy Piper league. He's in the Arn Anderson league. That's where I have Dustin.
I disagree because. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, wasn't the question one of the best workers?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's workers, not just him. Like, Bobby, you even said he was a great worker. Ergo, you answered Will's question. Yeah.
Well, I think you can be a great worker, but to me, a great worker is not a great pro wrestler. Like, just because you can go out there and perform the moves doesn't mean that you should be the world champion.
Well,
But you got to see the irony in you saying that as a Hulk Hogan fan, though.
Hulk Hogan Japan.
I will say this: when Dustin Rhodes is good, he's fucking great. That dude has, granted, he's not consistently booked in like the best stories, but some of the stories that he has been involved in have gone down as some of the most emotional and well-told stories in pro wrestling, regardless of title or not. You think back to his tag team win with his brother going over the Shield with his dad present. That was an excellent underdog story of that tag team. And then you go back to his clash with his brother in AEW, just those 2 matches alone. Those are 2 of the most well-remembered stories in all of pro wrestling, in my opinion. And then that's just from storytelling standpoint. You then touched on his presence as Goldust. How many years did that guy get out of that gimmick? Which could have been a huge flop, but somehow is a staple of the Attitude Era. I think when we look back, he is one of the easiest people to categorize as one of the best wrestlers to never win a world title. Not saying that you have to say he's better than a Kurt Hennig or that he's better than a Roddy Piper, but I believe more than anything that he deserves to be in that company. And to say that he doesn't, I think is just ill. It's not I don't think it's fair, to just put it nicely, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, and that's what this show's all about, is opinions. So it's, again, the guy, I think he's really good, but again, I wouldn't put him in that Piper echelon, because in that Piper echelon, I do put like a Razor Ramon in there. But I also think that Dustin and Goldust didn't necessarily need the World Heavyweight Championship because they got over for that small period of time on their own.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, guys like Sergeant Slaughter, are deserving world champions? No, but they did it. And for whatever reason, the Federation knew that they could put Sergeant Slaughter in that world title on him and draw numbers.
I did say in the group chat, BC Hunter brought it up. I said that since Dustin isn't being used in AEW TV predominantly right now, to let him go to NWA and insert himself in the NWA world title picture. We were talking about it going back and forth in the group chat. Just imagine the pop he would get if the Natural walked out on an NWA stage in an NWA studio and said, "I'm here to win the 10 pounds of gold, for my dad, it's my dream." And like he just delivers it, and he's there to push for the title. He doesn't have to keep it long. Just let him insert himself into that world title picture, so that way he has that opportunity to hold the 10 pounds of gold as a Rhodes, because Cody got it. So him and Dusty became the first father-son duo to hold it. But Cody was the wrong Rhodes to take the belt off of Aldis. Dustin Rhodes should have been the one to do it because he has 10 pounds of gold written all over him as the Natural. I think that character says NWA World Champion. Think of his dad in the Bunkhouse Stampede style blue jeans, cut off, flannel shirt with a cowboy hat, Dustin Rhodes. Go in there, kick ass, take names.
And
that's beautiful, man. I love that idea, Will. And then he retires off losing it, so he can still be a professional and do the job for the next guy.
Bingo.
That'd be a beautiful way to write off that career.
Yeah, and I agree. Like I would say NWA is probably the 5th or 6th on the list of national promotions. Like, is that fair? Like, I could see him being there and being the big dog there, maybe even Impact. But when it comes to AEW or WWE, I don't see it.
No, I think the lineage for NWA, just this once again going back to the storytelling.
Yeah,
so, for the Rhodes family.
Yeah.
And then by default, this would help make Bobby right. Because then Dustin Rhodes would never be one of the best workers to never win a world championship because he would have won a world championship.
Because he'll win a world championship. See,
there you go. There you go.
Hey, okay. He won the Florida World Heavyweight Championship.
I don't even know what that is.
But see, using that logic, then we talked about that in the group chat the other day. If you use that logic, then Henning's off that list because he was an AWA champion. Scott Hall's off that list because he won a territory world title. Like, at what point do you take? What point is the level of championship not there anymore? Because Jerry Lawler was the Mid-American heavyweight or Southern heavyweight champion 48 times.
He was also the AWA world champion, and AWA at that point in time was the 3rd most recognized. So yeah, you could take Kurt Hennig off that list for his AWA championship. I think I go to Kingsport, Tennessee, and they've got a world heavyweight champion. I guarantee you, if I go to Mexico or Canada, they've not heard of that promotion. So I think when you call it a world heavyweight championship, if it's recognized somewhere around the world or around the world completely, then yes. But if I go to England and they've never heard of this promotion, like, bumfuck whatever Orlando, and they've got a world champion, then that's not a real world championship. So yes, you've got to have a national promotion.
I forget where I hear it from, so I don't know if it's in pro wrestling or combat sports, but I remember hearing at one point a championship becomes classified as a world championship when it's been defended on 3 continents. Like when that title has traveled to 3 different continents, then it can be considered a world championship.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Huh. So I would definitely aim for Antarctica, North America.
Well, using that logic,
you just defended on South America on your way back up. You know what I mean?
Using that logic, then Ted's the #1 podcast in Antarctica. Botch Bots and Chair Shots is in the top 50 in India, which is continent #2, and we rank regularly in Canada and the U.S. 3. We're a world championship podcast,
man. There we go. Yes, sir.
I said it at the exact same time in the exact
stereo.
Same inflection.
Allison, order the belt.
Nerds.
We're gonna get a title belt. You better fucking believe that.
Sir. Fuck yeah, dude. All right, we're getting our own belt, Will.
We're getting our own belt. Me and Kai Tai are gonna get matching tag team World's Podcasting Tag Team Champions belts.
No, it's only one world belt, but we'll have 2 of them made so we don't have to ship them back and forth. They just can't show up on the same show.
No, do that broken
The
one,
illusion
like,
is there's only one.
the old women's divas belt.
Oh, fuck off.
With the butterfly on it?
No, the one that was split in half.
The one that Lay Cool did.
Okay. I'd rather take the BTE belt that was cut in half. I'll take that one.
I've got one, and then how many? You got another one, Allison? You got 2 more left? Okay. Well, I've got 2, but I don't think this one will have a whole lot to go off of it. So I'll do this one, then do mine, and then let Allison do her last 2. Impact killed Eric Young off air last week. Literally killed him on air. What do you guys think about wrestling promotions going this extreme when they write somebody off their promotion? Like, to literally stage a murder for the promo.
I mean,
Katie knows exactly how I feel.
I mean, they did it with Allie in Impact when she was going to AEW. Impact's very good at doing that. I give them major props for that. Nobody watches fucking Impact. There's like 5 people who do. I am not one of the people. You are 3 of the 5 people who watch Impact. I've never got into it, but I have seen like videos and stuff about it. A lot of their like behind the scenes kind of stuff. So they are very good at storytelling in that aspect. I think it's honestly an interesting take on taking somebody off of TV or like them leaving promotions or whatever. It's cool. You get movies out of it. Like you're killing somebody on TV, and then that explains why you never see them again.
But what if they come back?
Hall of Fame.
If they come back, ghost. Boom.
Ghost
What
Eric
if-
Young.
Poltergeist.
I mean, as a culture, we've adopted the ideology that cats have 9 lives. Why don't we just develop that pro wrestlers have like 5 lives and you can kill pro wrestlers now? Dude, I'd love me some murder in pro wrestling. I will take more murder.
Lucha Underground does that
fucking
stuff
murder.
where they'll write
dude.
like murders and stuff into their programs because they're a studio show. They don't, so like they can do stuff like that.
But Lucha was all right. So this is definitely the attitude of no kayfabe. Lucha was set up like a fake show.
Yeah.
It takes away all like. I know Undertaker, Paul Bearer, they all have died a million times. Like on the show, I'm not a fan of it. And I think when Eric gets into the Impact Hall of Fame, whatever that's worth, it's like, okay, well, he's back. Is he going to be painted in ghost face and come out like that? Like, I don't know. Yeah. Okay. It's fun. But that whole, believing takes it all away.
You don't have to believe it. You don't have to believe it. Every wrestling is a soap opera. You don't have to believe it.
Damn it.
When we start arguing what's believable in pro wrestling, what doesn't like cross the line and all of that, it just gets so messy. It gets so messy. Like we held the crucifix in WWE. Like they crucified Stone Cold. All right, like there's a lot of silly stuff in there.
Paul Bearer was buried alive in cement in a chair with duct tape on his mouth.
That's why
your generation. Abdullah the Butcher got the electric chair. Yeah. In the middle of the ring.
That's why I enjoy Glee, because when they kill a character, it's for real.
That's
so fucked up. That's fucked up, Bobby.
That is 1,000% fucked up.
That's fucked up.
I don't get that reference, but for some reason, I wish I did.
One of their I don't even watch Glee, but one of their actors overdosed.
Yeah.
Wow, Bobby. Last one on my list, Marie Shadows. She says that Aussie Open should be the number 2 on the PWI tag list. They weren't.
Who is number 2?
I believe the Usos were 1 and FTR were 2, but I'm not 100% on that.
Yeah, I think it was the Usos were 1, FTR was 2, and then the Briscoes were 3, yeah. I want to say.
It's wrong in a sense that it had FTR under the Usos because FTR is the best tag team in pro wrestling right now, hands down. So I don't think that's a fair assumption, only because the Usos haven't had any competition in that tag division for the last 2 years. Like no real, when you look at it, yeah, the Brawling Brutes have been good, but there hasn't been when you look at the heritage and lineage and history of tag team wrestling, there hasn't been a tag team on that level like that's been able to compete with the Usos. There's not a definitive built-up, established tag team that could do it.
The New Day.
The New Day could.
You had the longest reigning.
They were the longest
tag team
reigning
champs, even if it was Freebird rule. But you had the longest reigning tag champs, as the final roadblock to the Usos taking over that. I would say I'd say the Usos deserve it. I think they do, man.
I would say the Usos would be a very close second to FTR.
I think the argument between both of them is when the Usos aren't as a tag team, then they're basically like just jobbers for whoever Roman's going against in the main event. And FTR, their single matches are the best single matches on the card, but they lose one of them.
Fucking Dax, dude. If they hadn't cooled on Dax for like the second half of the year, he'd be wrestler of the year right now. Dax's matches were just phenomenal for the first 6 months of the year, dude. They were insanely good. And then he just had that classic with who did he just wrestle? Like Daniel Bryan?
Daniel Bryanson.
Dude, Jesus Christ.
Vince says the Usos are always the ones. Everyone else are the twos. Never disrespect main event Jey Uso. This is the first time I'm going to say it. Vince, you're wrong. Forever the Revival. FTR. They're number one.
Here's my take on it. Not much to add, but Usos currently longest reigning tag team champions deserve. Based off of the talent in WWE, you look at all the other tag teams, deserve. Revival, FTR. Now I'm just saying Revival. FTR are champions in three.
AAA, Ring of Honor, and what's the third one?
I don't know.
AAA, Ring of Honor, and New Japan.
New Japan.
IWGP Tag Team.
Yeah, fucking New Japan, dude.
Yeah.
Fuck the Revival, Vince. You're done. Allison, block Vince.
No, do not. But they've had these belts for how long, and it took them so long to even defend one of the set of three. I think that's the argument people were having, is they have 3 sets of tag belts, but they weren't defending them or even having matches for them. They were kind of just like off TV, vibing, chilling with their titles.
We just saw them wrestle at Big Time Wrestling, and they didn't even have the belts with them when they came out. They didn't wear any of them to the ring when we saw them wrestle last weekend.
Did you actually block Vince?
So is this another case like the earlier conversation with the women, that if you're not getting over with the crowd and you're not on TV and you're not getting TV time, like is that what's happening with FTR, or is it bad booking that's leading to this? Because obviously they're great, we all think they're great, the internet thinks they're great, the loud crowd reaction that's saying that they're great, like where's their disconnect other than being better than the EVPs?
I don't know. Allison. Kai, you got anything to say about FTR?
Oh, yeah, they're second place to the Young Bucks. Yeah.
The Young Bucks?
Yeah, dude, Young Bucks are awesome, bro. They're the best ever. Everyone can suck it. No, dude, it's a fucking...
We've been getting along for most of this.
Oh man, it's a list that's I think sole purpose is to make nerds like us argue, like over shit. And look at it. It ain't even like this is a travesty. This guy's like left out of the top 50. We're like, man, it's number 1 and 2, and it's like it's so close, but this person should be number 1 by like the smallest margin. It is what it is. I personally think because the Usos right now are making history, that who knows how long it'll be in the record books, but probably for a long time. Yeah, give them the number 1 spot this year. You know what I mean? Let them have all the accolades before the downfall begins ultimately.
Aussie Open wrestled everywhere, including GCW, and FTR gets number 2, but FTR also wrestled a lot of places. They were
Here's
wrestling.
the problem, though. I could only tell you one member of Aussie Open, whereas I think everybody knows who the Usos are.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Anywho.
I can't name anyone in Aussie Open, so there's
Well,
that.
isn't Will Ospreay technically Aussie Open?
Does he count?
I don't know. Like,
Isn't this
fucking
one of
know.
those weird things
Exactly.
where Aussie Open...
And this is why Aussie Open's not number one. Look at us.
Look,
I don't know
Marie
if that
Shadows
fucking
no
counts.
in big capital letters. No, Jesus. Will Ospreay and Evil are in Aussie Open. That's that's who is in Aussie
What's
Open.
in
Will
Aussie
Ospreay
Open?
and Evil.
Aren't there like, isn't it like a tag team with 2 other people?
Yeah, I thought Aussie Open was like a subgroup inside of United Empire.
I
might
thought it
be
was a
wrong.
faction.
Oh, the Great O'Cons group? Oh. Great O'Cons.
Kyle Fletcher and Mark Davis are Aussie Open.
Oh,
Thank
those
you, Marie.
guys, those giant
Vince
stars that
says-
everybody talks about every day.
Vince says, "What's an Aussie Open?"
I'm pretty sure it's a tennis thing.
BC Hunter says Aussie Open are better drivers than the Usos.
Didn't
so-
someone get banned from the Aussie Open because they didn't want to like take the vaccine or something? They couldn't go in that fucking tournament.
How
An
could I?
Aussie Open like Outback Jack and the Bushwhackers.
Yep, that's exactly who it is. That's
Now the
the one.
Bushwhackers. I know about the Bushwhackers. Those guys are awesome.
I just saw a video of them. The one that's still around with us. He was doing a job in an indie promotion. He still went out, hands pumping, doing his thing. I think it was Luke.
Yeah, Luke.
Bushwhacker Luke was the one that was still around.
Bro, that shit would terrify the fuck out of
Yeah,
me.
dude, he owns
If one of the
gym.
Bushwhackers was walking towards me about to lick my face. Oh fuck, dude.
Yeah, dude, he owns a gym above Hogan's Beach Shop down in Clearwater.
Miss Siegel, you got another one for us before we take this home?
I do. Of our theme of people hating spoilers, I'm also super tired of all the fake Rumble lists going around. But my next one is because Booker T actually spoke about it. Rock rumored to win this year's Rumble.
I don't think Dwayne needs to win the Rumble.
Mm-mm.
But
Should he have a match with Roman at Mania? 100%. Because Hollywood, it makes sense. And he refuses to acknowledge the tribal chief, which is just disrespectful, Dwayne. But you don't, that is a match that doesn't need a title. Like, you can have Roman defend one or both of the titles the other night and literally just have him and Dwayne go at it. Because that'd be the storytelling the entire time. Roman has claimed the Samoan dynasty. He said, "This is my fucking family. I am the head of the table. I am the tribal chief." And Rock's just not gonna acknowledge that? No, come on. Remember the build between Rock and Cena for Mania? That shit was good. That shit was gold.
yeah, dude, they threw jabs at each other all the time, not even on wrestling. You couldn't turn on TV without an interview, and those guys were throwing jabs at each other. Like, they were building that stuff up really well.
Well, there
Exactly.
there was an episode that Roman came in, was trying to play with him or whatever, and he's like, no, we'll save this for WrestleMania. It's, I think, part of season 2.
I remember
Oh,
that
yeah, I
clip when
remember
everyone
that.
was talking about that.
So I think I don't think Rock should win the Rumble in any way, shape, or form. I think having him show up at the Rumble, because Roman's obviously going to have a match, having him show up at the Rumble after the match, start it up for Mania, I'm okay with, but I do not want Rock to win.
Bro,
I don't think he should.
what if Sammy stays on this trajectory and the WWE makes the ill-advised move, puts Sammy in the Rumble? Because I promise you, it would be nuts, because it'd probably happen again. Sammy would be eliminated, and then the crowd would turn on Roman, just like when would turn on The Rock, just like when Daniel Bryan was eliminated and they turned on Roman in the end. Can you imagine The Rock getting booed in the Rumble? Oh, it could happen.
Well, he did when that happened.
He was booed by proxy.
Right. When Roman, he went out there to raise Roman's hand, he got booed.
Mhm.
Well, another thing with the Rock Rumble stuff, I was saying it before, Solo has been, quote, sent by the elders, right? Solo does something at Rumble, turns his back on the bloodline. Okay? Stay with me here, guys. I swear it's going to make sense. And then the next night, Monday Night Raw, Solo bloodline comes out asking, why Solo, why? Solo comes out. Dwayne's music hits. It would make sense. Solo has been a mole for The Rock in the bloodline.
I did it for The Rock.
It literally makes sense though.
It does.
Solo doesn't participate in bloodline things. He doesn't throw up the ones with
He
the
doesn't
Usos.
throw up the ones, man.
He didn't join the family hug with Sammy. It just makes sense.
Yeah, like
subtle. It's subtle, dude.
What about Sammy and Elimination Chamber being in Montreal? Do y'all think the turn should happen at Rumble and then Sammy have something to do in Montreal in his hometown? Him and Owens reuniting there maybe because they're both, BC Hunter was talking about this a few weeks ago on our show. I think we mentioned it, having the opportunity for Sammy and Owens to reunite in Canada. Do you
Sammy
think
should wrestle Roman in Montreal?
Yeah, I agree.
That's what I said should
Sammy-
happen. Is the turn happens. So this was the way I planned it. We talked about it a few weeks ago. Was Owens and Roman at Rumble, then Sammy has to protect Owens because the beatdown or something crazy happens, and that's where the turn happens. Sammy voluntarily leaves the bloodline to protect his boy. You know what I mean? Then they beat him down. That builds to Sammy and Roman 6 weeks, 8 weeks later at Elimination Chamber in his hometown. And that would give you the Sammy Roman build. And then one step further than that, after Sammy loses to Roman, that builds to KO and Sammy taking the belts off the Usos at WrestleMania the same time Roman loses the belt to Cody. And then the
I've
been
bloodline gets
saying-
some very good deserved time off.
Right. The
Like
only
I've
problem
been
I see
saying,
with-
we need Kevin and Sammy as a tag team again.
Yeah.
I've been saying it for months. As soon as like everything with Kevin happened, KO and Sammy take the belts off the Usos, and then once Ciampa's healthy, you bring back Ciampa. We get DIY reunited again because that was fantastic.
Yes, it was.
That's another solid ass tag team you have in this division.
My only issue is it's so predictable that I don't think WWE is going to do it because at this point, the internet's been talking about this for at least 2 months, like 3 months. Like
4 years.
Well, that's just what happens when you have the
4
hottest
years, yeah.
story, though, is people are going to talk about it.
Right, but I just feel like we've predicted the story, and I feel like that they might shy away from that, and I think that's maybe why they've gone with Sammy a lot longer than what initially was supposed to happen.
They went with Sammy a lot longer than initially happened because he got so over with the crowd
It was
and he
just-
became such a vital part of the bloodline. That's why this is still going on. Sammy was only Paul Heyman said it after the whatever pay-per-views happened after in the media thing. He even said Sammy was only supposed to be there like for a week or two, but Sammy just became this vital part of the bloodline storyline. That's why he's still in it. That's why he's Sammy Uso getting Usi. He has a My Dog shirt, but all the proceeds of that are going to a very good cause. Like that makes sense. But
I
like
have an
this is
honorary
why
shirt.
Sammy's still in it. See?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want to see it, but I'm just worried that the internet might ruin the story because WWE doesn't want to go down that predictable route.
Or they actually listen to fans for once and we actually get it.
And whatever they
Kofi Mania or Daniel Bryan, Yeselmania. Like we know the
Classic.
points where the fans have taken control and WWE's given them what they want. So playing devil's advocate, taking one out of Kai Tai's playbook, like we know WWE will do exactly that. The fans got behind Kofi, and what did they do? They put the belt on the man. Fans got
it gets
behind
to the
Daniel
point where
Bryan,
they're
and they put the belt on the
undeniable.
man.
Yeah. If it gets to the point where it's undeniable, like I don't see how like the fans could ruin it. Are you saying that WWE comes out with a bad story and then you blame the internet because the internet felt like they figured it out, so WWE just went with poor storytelling and it's the fans' fault
no
that
but I
way?
feel like-
Or are you going to have the story ruined for you because everybody saw the outcome coming and felt it was predictable?
yeah, like I knew the rabbit was going to come out of the hat. So when I watched Daniel go against Batista and Orton, I knew he was going to win. Like the false finishes didn't mean anything.
I'll tell you one thing though. When the rabbit comes out of the hat, I look at my son and I look at the people around, and if they're really happy, I'm happy. I don't care if I saw the rabbit come out of the hat. I look at everybody else having a good time, and in turn, I had a good time because of it as well.
Here's an example for this, Bobby. I read Game of Thrones before the TV show happened. Okay, the book. I know books are hard. It didn't have a lot of pictures for you, but it was a good read. I read the first Game of Thrones before the show came out, so I knew Ned Stark got 86 about halfway through the book, 2/3 of the way through the book. So I knew what was going to happen in the show. I still loved everybody's reaction to see it live. I knew about what happened in A Storm of Swords with the Red Wedding. So when it got to that in the TV show, I got to see other people's live reactions. Just because I understand this, the systematics and the workings of how the booking process happens, and sometimes we see it coming, doesn't take away from the excitement we have for when it does. The electricity and the pop inside the building and from the crowd is enough to make you excited, even if Macho Man's going to hit the elbow, he's going to get a false finish, but the ref's not going to be there, then Steamboat's going to roll him up for the 1, 2, 3. I know that's going to happen. I just called the finish, but I still pop every time I watch Mania 3.
Right, and so, like the earlier conversation with Royal Rumble, I think for the casual fan that orders it on Peacock or watches it on Peacock or pay-per-view, they're surprised and like, oh man, that's awesome. But I do think that it takes away from that live smart crowd that's been watching this build up. Yes, are they going to be excited that when it finally happens? Yeah, but maybe not as much as they were, and maybe not as much as it was a true surprise. Like there's no drama as a live audience member watching something that I already know. Like I've already seen the end of Avengers, and I know
So you're saying the storytelling should take a hit because some people have become good at understanding storytelling.
Well, when you guys were on here earlier, you guys were complaining about the spoilers on Rampage. And to me, the story is already
completely different.
Those are
thing.
different
spoilers
things.
is something that's happened and we've read it.
Yep, and the story to me has already been spoiled because I know
to you
don't know. What are you
happen.
talking about? You don't know.
That didn't happen though. It's what we're guessing will happen. There is a difference between guessing and guessing the storyline, knowing how WWE works, versus actual spoilers of things that actually happened.
Bobby is a contrarian. Once something becomes like general public opinion, I feel like you're more leaning towards away from it now. Because you're saying, all you're saying is a lot of people say they see this coming and they're talking about it, and now it feels like it's predictable, so now I'm not going to like it. Even if it is the most intriguing and awesome and captivating story going on, I feel like I see where this is going, and you guys ruined it because you've talked about the scenarios and they sound plausible to me. So now it sucks, and I'm bummed out. It feels like that's the message you're portraying.
Right. To me, it would be better if Usos won. That would shock me.
Okay. And
that would get me more into the story. Like, what's next? What's the next chapter with Usos versus Owens and Zayn? Like, that would intrigue me to what's part 2. Like, what is Empire Strikes Back? Because this is Star Wars. This is Star Wars now that the next battle is Empire. And then I need a return.
Because you're the Sith.
That wasn't introduced until later on.
Allison, was that it? You got one more?
Hey, speaking on tag teams really quick, I just wanted to throw this out there.
Absolutely, sir.
I really feel like it's time that we all give Enzo and Cass another go at being a tag team. I just wanted to throw that out there.
What are they calling him in AEW now? Big Billy or whatever they called him last night?
W. Morrissey.
W. Morrissey.
No, last night they called him on
Did they call him something?
On commentary, they called him like, I know it's William Morrissey, I know that's what it is, but they kept calling him like Big Billy or something like that, something stupid and generic, which I hated because I'm a Will. I'm not a William or a Bill or a Billy. I'm a fucking Will. So when I hear people who are named William go by Billy, I'm like, that's not even the same fucking... I just spilled a Dr. Pepper all over my phone. That's not even the same thing.
BC Hunter saying Big Bill.
Big Bill. There you go. Thank you, BC Hunter.
Yeah.
It did sound bad. That's what I'm saying. It sounded...
Dude, Big Bill does sound really bad.
I don't even remember them saying it on commentary.
God, it just... Dude, he feels like they're just missing each other. Like, I don't know. This is like Tweak and Craig when they broke up on South Park. It's like, no, you guys work so well together. Just get back together.
I do love Tweak and Craig.
Dude, they put out the best Yahweh. Like, the best Yahweh you can get your hands on is the Tweak and Craig Yahweh.
Where did this conversation
Tweak and Craig? That's what we are, Kyle, in the podcasting world. We're the Tweak and Craig of podcasting.
There you go.
All right, guys, we did it. We made it. This is the part of the episode where I don't say anything. You guys plug your stuff. We go home. Katie Kinsey, you're up.
You can follow me on Twitter at GatorWrestling13. Link to about to check out all things She Lead Showcase. Twitch.tv/She Lead Showcase. Typically Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern. YouTube.com/She Lead Showcase. I stay watching videos because they are way more entertaining. Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. If you like to listen, which I don't judge. She Lead Showcase is the brand. It is also the weekly show my co-host Savannah and I do every week. Inside the Mind of is an interview series I do. Kyle and Will have both been on it, as well as Ariana. He's the latest one. In the Crowd is a collab show that has gone through 3 iterations already. I am trying to do more of that next year. It's in the works. My co-host Savannah has 2 shows. New Japan Takeover on hiatus until Wrestle Kingdom. Her new show, Light the Fuse. 2 episodes are out. It's all about AEW. Storytime with Katie Kinsey Bebe. That is a little YouTube thing I'm doing. I'm just telling stories about wrestling that I've experienced in my life. And my stuff is on Floor Slapper Sports if you want to see my writings.
Kai-Tai?
I do a lot of stuff.
You got a lot of stuff going on.
Jesus Christ, dude. Like, she rivals Excalibur with the amount of stuff she can get out in that one breath. Good God, man. Hey, look, man, follow me on Twitter at the Kai-Tai Show. And other than that, Will plug all of my stuff, and Will's is crossed over. So anything that Will plugs, you'll find me in RN. So I'll use this time to just say, if you yourself or you know anybody else struggling with addiction or mental health issues, please reach out, get the necessary help. Everybody's struggling with their own stuff behind the scenes. It always helps if you have other people there to support one another. So that's really all I want to say.
Bobby Mack.
Yeah, you can follow me on TikTok at Yellow Shoe Guy for old wrestling clips from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and today, whatever I can find to throw up there. We're just about 1,100 people, so 1,100 people away from our 10,000 person follow goal. You can follow me on Twitter. I say really dumb things and, get yelled at all the time about that. Still waiting to get invited to Katie's show or the Rewind to be that.
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh.
So that's me.
Well, all right, guys. Follow SAS Vince. Follow Bemmer Chatter. Follow BC Hunter with Wrestling of the Truth. Follow Wrestling with the Truth. Follow MATTRIDDER Matt Ritter. Follow Marie Shadows. Who else did I forget?
Me!
Follow Just a Girl 918. Alison, plug your stuff.
No.
She said, no, fuck you.
You can follow Alison. She's the boss bitch of Botched Watching Chair Shots at Just a Girl 918, wherever you do anything on the internet. She is the brains behind the what's your fucking comic called? The Hill Support Group with Max and Colby. She's the brains behind that. Follow all my friends. Follow the Yellow Shoe Guy. Follow Marie. Follow Matt. Follow all those guys. But now, as we close another episode of Botched and Chair Shots, I want to take a minute. Thank you for listening. Remind you to go wherever you do anything on the internet. Like, follow, subscribe, unsubscribe, then subscribe again. Leave a comment telling how great we are or how terrible we sound. Either way, it helps the algorithm, helps find new listeners. I forgot the last part.
YellowShoeGuy.com.
It helps
Hashtag
find
push
new
Gulak.
listeners. If you're feeling really generous and be one of the VIP people, head over to patreon.com and donate to the Smackdraw Podcast Network. You get some fantastic swag. We get some fantastic guests. It's a win-win for Katie Kinsey, for the Kai Tai Show, for Yellow Shoe Guy, and for the boss bitch, Miss Allison. I am the Will Gray. Thanks for stopping by and listening, my people.